Kamala Harris voters, hang in there. We're winning. Here's the thing. Let me give you the latest blow. It is 27th of February, 2025, as I say this. And I know there's some people who are there going to try to freak you out. The first thing I want you to know is there are now two cases in the Supreme Court. One is to fire an employee who was a watchdog who in lower courts won when he sued, say, hey, give me my job back. And the initial good news is that out of all of the Supreme Courts, only two favored Trump, saying, hey, we want to temporarily fire this guy until we rule on this. They're going to rule on it the end of the month, the early March. We'll see how this goes. The second, but it looks good because they ruled, there were 9 people, 9 Supreme Court judges? And basically only 2 of them said, you know what, we can fire him temporarily. Everybody else was like, ain't happening. Then the second one this morning that everybody's going to try to freak you out over is the one about the temporary hold on unfreezing the funds for USAID. Now, this is how that works. There's a Justice Roberts, who's assigned with dealing with all emergency requests. And he basically said, okay, the lower court said, unrelease those $5 billion worth of funds, $2 billion, I think it is, worth of funds that the nonprofits are suing that you froze in USAID. Because USAID basically had $570 billion in funds, and they cut it down to $57 billion, the bastards. Here's the thing that's really crazy is they put that in there. They froze it, right? And the lower court said, no, unfreeze the ones that the nonprofits are suing for, which is about $2 billion of that frozen to $510 billion worth of aid. And because they need those payments. And the Trump courts are like, oh, no, we'll be tied up. We can't pay, which is bull. They got the money. But the thing is that the lower court said, no, you got until midnight on Thursday, today, to do this. And they went to the Supreme Court saying, oh, please help us, please help us. The Supreme Court said, wait a minute, hold on. We're going to hold the deadline that's supposed to happen. We're going to hold it. But what we're going to do is rule on it. So we're not going to rule right away. This is just a hold, y'all. This is just, instead of hitting the deadline and them being in contempt, they just basically hold on it until they rule on it. How do we know they're going to rule again for Trump? We don't. Here's the thing you got to understand. These are two different rulings. One for the federal employer and one to release money for the, for the nonprofits, for USAID. And, the State Department going through the State Department and other department. I want you to understand what's happening here. The first one, where the federal employee was fired, looks good in our advantage because they refuse to unfire the guy or refire the guy, should I say. They refuse to refire him, which is a good thing. The second, they said we're going to make a judgment on it, which doesn't look good since all 9 voted in that case. But in the emergency case, 9 didn't vote. It was just Roberts who's responsible for saying we're either going to delay the deadline for the government to pay or not. So it's not a real ruling. So it's not like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. No, they got a rule on it. And we don't know which way they'll go either way in that one. But if we're going by the numbers, we've had almost 25 rulings in 24 of which we won. The only thing they won was the right to do the buyout. Everything else has been like, boom, no. Anything they've ruled on. And there are tons of other cases going through. Hundreds of cases we're about to have. And they're not all going to hit the Supreme Court. And the good news is that the lower courts are more balanced. They're more, liberal and more balanced courts. The other thing to note, out of those 23, there are many from the Bush, Reagan, and even the Trump appointees that have ruled against Trump. So we are winning. We just got to keep up the pressure on our Congress. Now, I know what you want to know. You want to know about the budget. Oh, my God. They are lying their ass off, both Trump and Congress. There are people all across the web who got the meetings, the town halls with their senators. There was one in Utah, Mike Kennedy, who sat there and told that lie, and all of them laughed at him. It was like, no, we're not due after the Medicaid, and neither is Trump, and they all laughed. They're like, are you kidding? Here's the thing. They're going after the committees that fund Medicaid and that fund SNAP. So, food stamps. So the thing is, they're going after those things. And what I'm saying to people is, listen, don't fall for the okie doke. MAGA falling for the okie doke. For instance, online right now, they are cutting. Let me explain it. They are cutting online. They're deleting their tweets that they put out. Republican GOP Congress who said, "Oh, we passed a bill on no tax on overtime, on tips, on Social Security." No, they didn't. That wasn't even in the bill. It was just the $2 trillion for the total of $4 trillion in tax cuts to billionaires. And they're trying to pass, they pulled out the one where they were going to unfund the Medicaid through the committees, and they were going to unfund SNAP and just pass that. And then now they're trying to do amendments and add stuff in. They're trying to get tricky where they add in later to see if they can get votes on it. So what I'm trying to tell you right now is that what we seeing is some sneaky shit. But we see the sneaky shit. All right? You don't need my glasses to see this. I'm trying to tell you, it's working. You guys stay on your Congress. Be aware, I'm here in Chicago. Duckworth, Durbin, and Davis are my reps. And I'm emailing them several times a week. Like, yo. And they're hitting back. Davis needs to get better. He's horrible. But other than that, what I'm saying, the two senators are good. My representative is like, yeah. But here's the thing. I'm still hitting them up. I don't give a fuck. They need to let me know. They need to hit me back. They're getting paid for staff. They can have somebody hit me back. What I'm trying to get is this. This is the part I want y'all to understand. This is the I want you to get. We need to continue applying the pressure to Congress. None of the Democrats, thank God, voted for this bill last night. But it's officially, it didn't have Medicaid committee being cut. It didn't have the people for the SNAP committee being cut. See, they're saying committees. So they come to their group saying, no, we're not going to cut Medicaid, Social Security. No, there's no Project 2025. And then what they're doing is they're going to try to insert it a little later as an amendment and vote on it and see how people vote. But the Democrats were all together like, fuck that. No. Thank God. They, because they hadn't always been together on a lot of shit. But I'm glad they unified like this, forming like Voltron. So hang in there. If there's any major news, I'll let you know. But here's my concern. We got 30-something days until TikTok will be banned. Now, Trump has said he'd extend the ban. But in the meanwhile, get over to my Darren Monroe Political, where I get to talk and put a lot of content out. And I get a lot more freer with my voice. Darren Monroe Political. Look over there and subscribe and join me.